بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده. Dear respected viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another brand new episode of Ask Iman. I'm your host Qamarul Islam, and inshallah this is a live program broadcasted from the studio of Eman Channel, watched on Sky 757. To all of those who have joined with us through our social media platform, welcome to the program. And don't forget, you can also watch this program later on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. And in fact, do not forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is a live interactive Q&A program where you ask questions, and inshallah our guest answers the questions based on the authentic sources, which is the Quran and Sunnah. So just for your kind reference, the contact details will all be appearing at the bottom of your TV screen. In fact, they are there. But for your convenience, if you'd like to call in directly to the studio, then it's 0208 or in fact 020 35150757. You can also drop us a text on our WhatsApp. You can also email us at askiman@emanchannel.tv. And not to forget, you can leave us a comment on our social media platform or drop us message on our inbox of our social media. Joining us today, our beloved Shaykh, our Ustad, Shaykh Saeed Al-Qadi. Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. قمر الإسلام, how are you doing inshallah?
Alhamdulillah, fine. Thank you very much for asking, and welcome to Ask Iman, and most importantly, thank you very much for giving us your valuable time.
It is my pleasure. جزاكم الله خير. Thank you for having me.
Barakallah feek. Now let's start. We know it's 9th of Muharram here in the UK, so which means tomorrow will be 10th of Muharram, Ashura. Now, just briefly for people who do not know much about the day of Ashura, or people who know about it, but just a little bit of refreshing for our audience, including myself, if you can briefly explain the significance of Ashura, the importance of fasting, and if someone hasn't fasted today, what can they do? Can they fast on Sunday as well? And just a little bit of clarification there. So if you can start, Shaykh.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. The day of Ashura is a day that is a blessed day, a day in which the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they used to fast. They used to fast it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala survived and saved his beloved prophet Musa alayhi salam from his enemy, from Fir'aun. ذلك يوم نجى الله فيه موسى من فرعون. On this day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Musa alayhi salam and the believers from the torturing of Fir'aun. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, يوم عاشوراء كانت تصومه الأنبياء فصوموه أنتم. The day of Ashura was a day in which the prophets used to fast. So fast it. And Aisha radiallahu anha said that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to fast the day of Ashura as in Sahih Muslim. But the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he was first told about the day, because he went to Medina and he found the people of Medina, or the Yahud in Medina, they used to fast Ashura, and he asked his companions why the Yahud are fasting this day. They said because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Musa alayhi salam on this day. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, we are entitled to Musa alayhi salam more than them. So Musa has a right upon us more than them. So therefore, fast the day of Ashura, but fast with it one day before or one day after. Meaning, he said that لئن بقيت إلى قابل لأصومن التاسع والعاشر. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me more life, I will fast the 9th of Muharram and the 10th of Muharram. So the Prophet ﷺ, he acknowledged this act of worship, but he said that we should be different in terms of how we perform it. As Muslims, we celebrate this day in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Musa alayhi salam, but we do it differently. We fast the day of Ashura and we fast a day before it.
Now, thank you very much for that brief introduction of the day of Ashura. Now, another thing I would like to ask, normally many scholars say the fasting on the day of Friday is disliked. Is that true? And if it is, the 9th of Muharram, was it an exception?
generally fast the day of Jum'ah, because Jum'ah is our weekly Eid. It's our weekly Eid. So we should not fast the day of Jum'ah. And fasting Jum'ah by itself, singling Jum'ah by fasting is not allowed. And likewise, singling Saturday by fasting is not allowed. But if there is a reason of fasting Friday, for example, if Friday is on the one of the white nights of the month, 13th or 14th or 15th of the month, then we can fast it. Okay? And likewise, if the day of Arafah is on Jum'ah, we should fast it. If the day of Ashura is on Jum'ah, we can fast it. Okay? If Tasu'ah is in Jum'ah, we can fast it. Meaning, if there is a reason to fast Friday, beside being a day of Friday, then we can fast it. For example, if you are as well fasting to make up any previous fasting that you missed, okay, you can do it on Friday as well. It's fine, as long as you're not fasting Friday because it is Friday.
Jazakallah khair for clarifying that. Now, another important question there, I would like to take your word of wisdom on it. Some people may exaggerate because you've used the word celebrate. So obviously celebrate, as we understand, taking lessons from it. Now, some people might exaggerate in terms of taking lessons on the day of Ashura and might indulge in activities that might not be directly prescribed by the authentic sources of Islam. What nasiha would you have for people who will indulge or may indulge in such activities which does not have any basis in Islam?
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, reward you with Al-Qamarul, Jazakallah khair. Celebrating the day of Ashura, there is a hadith in this regard. But the hadith is weak hadith. It's a weak hadith in which they said that Rasulullah said that whoever expand or made easy that day on his people by like expanding on giving them like provision and so on and so forth, or Allah Ta'ala will expand his provision. Okay, من وسع على أهله فيه وسع الله عليه. Whoever made things easy for his family, and meaning it's a source of celebrating that day. But that hadith is a weak hadith. It's a weak hadith. Therefore, there is no an evidence in the Quran or the Sunnah that says that we should celebrate that day, but we celebrate it by fasting. That's how we do it. We fast that day, and this fasting is a form of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when I say celebrated, I mean we fast that day and we thank Allah ta'ala that He saved Musa alayhi salam, his slave Musa alayhi salam, from his enemy, and we thank Allah ta'ala by fasting that day. This is the way how we celebrate it.
Jazakallah khair. Now, what does Islam talk about when it comes to self-harming? What's the fundamental view in Islam when it comes to protecting our own self, our body, and not only the soul, but the physical body? Sheikh.
If you just could clarify further, or if you could link it with something, so I can.
What I meant is the self-harming, harming oneself. Particularly around the month of Muharram, or even in general. Now, harming ourselves, we know that Islam prohibits. Now, I wanted to take your opinion. Is there anything in Islam that in the month of Muharram we are allowed to harm ourselves?
No. Then I understood you, but I hope that you would have clarified it further, because what happens now is that subhanallah ta'ala on Ashura, as some of the Shia claims that Al-Hussein was killed on this day. So they harm themselves and they basically punish themselves. Okay? The killing of Al-Hussein, may Allah be pleased with him, was without any hesitation. It was a great oppression upon this noble companion. May Allah be pleased with him. And he was killed without any right. And at that time there was no like a grandchild of a prophet living on earth but him, subhanallah ta'ala. But he was killed and he was oppressed. May Allah be pleased with him. we understand that as Muslims and as Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we believe that he was killed and oppressed. Same time, that doesn't mean that we should punish ourselves on this day because we couldn't support him or we couldn't avert this harm from him. So the Shia, they say, because we invited him to come to Iraq and we promised him to support him, but we couldn't do that. That's why we are now punishing ourselves. First of all, that punishment to the body is not allowed. Second thing, the way how you are inventing things in the deen of Allah Ta'ala is also not acceptable. And it is like if Allah Ta'ala has punished you because you indeed have invited him to come to Iraq and you promised him to support him and then you let him down. It happened. It happened. And that's why Ibn Qayyim Rahimahullah Ta'ala said, and many other ulama said, that Allah Ta'ala is punishing the people who promised him to come, who invited him to come to Iraq and then they let him down. So Allah Ta'ala is showing them and us how Allah Ta'ala is punishing them by hating them, themselves. So the act itself is wrong. The reason why they're doing it is wrong. The punishment of themselves is wrong. And it's a sign before us, subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot call somebody to come and say, I'm going to support you. And he's the grandchild of a prophet. And then at the end, you let him down.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. And just to clarify there, Shaykh is giving his opinion, as he has mentioned, based on Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And it's a discussion there according to the understanding of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. We understand there may be a different opinion there. However, inshallah, this is a program where we have a discussion based on the Quran and Sunnah. And it doesn't mean that we disrespect any particular community. As we all know, as is in Islam, it clearly advocates about brotherhood and sisterhood, inshallah. Now, if you've got any questions along those lines, then please feel free to call in to the studio on 0203 515 0757. Alternatively, you can drop us a text on WhatsApp, and it's on 0742 239 8833. And all the necessary other contact details, whether it be the email address or the Facebook or YouTube channels, are all given at the bottom of your screen. Now, moving on, first, we'll take the caller for today. Let's see who's on the line. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Thank you very much for calling in. What's your question?
Thank you. My question is, today I was watching a video about Shaykh Asma Hakim. He said that my question was, if I can sell like fragrances for men and for women, and the question is, if this is haram when I'm selling it in a non Islamic country, because you know that when women come to me and buy my fragrances, then I will know that they will use it for, I don't know, some haram stuff, and I know that their intentions are not to use it at home. So that's my question: if I can sell this, if I know that their intentions are probably not only just to wear it for his own husband, or I don't know. So that's my question. If I can sell fragrances, like perfumes or something for women outside an Islamic country, and what's the ruling on that?
Okay, it's clear to me. Any other question?
Yes, one question. It's about if you're traveling, and now staying for 2 weeks at one place, and then we decide to go to another place, and we stay there for 3 or 4 days. But this second place is let's say my second home. You know, I can live there whenever I want. So is it okay when I pray these 3 or 4 days when I pray like a mufassir, or do I have to pray like normal prayers?
Like a muqim. Okay, like you were staying there.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine, no problem. Any other questions?
That's all. Jazakallah.
No problem. And just to find out, so Shaykh can tailor his answer. Are you based in the UK or outside UK?
Outside UK.
Okay, what country?
Austria.
Austria. You're calling all the way from Austria. Thank you ever so much, calling all the way from Austria. And keep watching Eman Channel. Inshallah, we'll get it addressed. And if there is anything, if you've got any supporting questions or any other questions involving what Shaykh replies, then please feel free to call us back and we'll inshallah clarify those. Now, thank you very much for calling in and all the way from Austria. Now, Shaykh, let's start with the first question. He sells or indulges in the business of perfume. Now, if a female comes to the store and buys the perfume or the fragrance, and the gentleman who owns the business or sells the perfume is fully aware that perfume perhaps might not necessarily be used within the household, it might be used outside the household, would be in front of non-mahrams and other places, in public places. Is he allowed to sell knowingly the perfume to the female?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلي على محمد. The transaction of selling perfumes to people is allowed. Okay, what they do with it is not your business. That's not your. You'll not be accountable of it. Likewise, if you sell a car to somebody, and then that person will use it for something good, you won't be rewarded. If he uses something bad, you won't be as well punished. That's his own remit and his own business. So you sell a good. That good, if that good is halal, the good itself is halal, the transaction is halal, the seller is known, the buyer is known, then the transaction is halal. Okay, so you shouldn't go beyond this, because in Islam, we call it the dhimma is one. The dhimma means as long as the transaction itself is halal, then anyone afterwards, if he utilizes that good or that tool for a haram thing, that you're not accountable of it.
Great.
Okay.
And just to clarify, because the viewer has specifically questioned about male selling it to a female, what about the vice versa? If the female owned a shop and he was selling to the male?
Well, it doesn't matter. A female can sell to a male, and likewise, a male can sell to a female. It's fine, as long as they are observing and adhering to the Sharia law in terms of how they communicate. Otherwise, it's allowed. It's allowed.
Okay.
You can sell a perfume for a woman if you are a man. It's fine. There's no harm with that.
Thank you ever so much for that. Yes, Shaykh, go on.
What is the problem here? When it comes to transactions, for them to be valid, we need three pillars. The first pillar is the buyer has to be known, and the seller has to be known, and the transaction and the good has to be stated and known, and has to be halal. So this is available in this transaction, therefore it's halal.
Thank you ever so much for clarifying it in detail. Now, moving on swiftly to our next question the viewer had, and that is, if he travels to a place for 2 weeks, and then he stays there, say, for example, for some days or week, and then he moves on for next couple of days to another city. Now, that another city is his second home. Now, should he pray his salah as a musafir or muqim?
If it's, as he mentioned, his second home, he should pray as muqim. If it's his second home, he should pray as muqim. If that second city, it's not his second home, he can pray as musafir.
Great. Just to give us an example, what does a second home mean?
Second home mean a place where you own a home, you own a house. When you go there, people, when they describe you, they won't say you are musafir. They will say you are in home. Okay. So for us, just to clarify this, people, they may have some misunderstanding this issue. When it comes to defining the musafir, he said musafir as well. He mentioned the Arabic term. He is right in this regard. We need to define the musafir. Who is the musafir? The musafir that has the ruling of safar. He who has the permission to shorten the prayer. Who has the permission to break his fast if he's not. Break his fast in Ramadan. The musafir, there is no definition for the musafir in the Quran. There is no definition for the musafir in the Sunnah. There is no definition of the musafir in the Arabic language. So for us, as when it comes to applying the ruling on any matter, we need to define it first. So if you look at the musafir term itself, we won't find in the Quran that is defining the musafir. You won't find the musafir is the person who travels from the point A to point B and he stays there for that period. There is no evidence in the Quran that says that. Likewise, you won't find an evidence in Sunnah that define the musafir. Okay, you go back. The ulama, what they do? They go first to the Quran. They couldn't find. They go to the Sunnah. They couldn't find. They go to the Arabic language, the lugha. Why? Because the lugha, Allah Ta'ala spoke to us in بلسان عربي مبين, in a very articulate language, articulate Arabic language. So we go to the Arabic language to define musafir, and you won't find it as well. You won't find in the Arabic language that the musafir is the person who travels from point A to B and stay there for that period. You won't find that. You won't find that. But you will find in the fourth level, which is our third stage, which the ulama will go to, which is the urf. Urf means what people agrees upon. What people agree upon people, يعني, and therefore I refer to the urf. In my answer to you have to ask yourself, people, what they call you. They call you musafir, then you are musafir. If they call you no musafir, you go to your second home, you're no musafir. You're no musafir. Okay?
Okay.
If I ask your neighbors, they will say we have a musafir next to us. No, they will say we have a resident person next to us.
Correct.
Okay? Okay, this is how it works now. This is how it works. As long as you are called musafir, as long as you are named musafir, as long as when we call you your family, we say ask them where is Muhammad, they say he is traveling, then you have the ruling of musafir. And this is the opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala and opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, and they are right in this regard.
Jazakallah khair for clarifying that. Now, Sheikh, quickly, in just 20 seconds, normally people find out about the ruling when they've actually traveled. So should it be before they travel, they find out about the Masla Masail, or when they're actually in the place and they try to find out what's the ruling?
Right procedure is to ask before you travel. Allah Ta'ala in the Quran said, Ya alladhina amanu la tuqaddimu yada Allahi wa rasuli. Or you believe, do not bring your thoughts or your opinion before you know what Allah Ta'ala said about it or the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Jazakallah khair. Now, inshallah, we'll come back to you, Sheikh, after a short break. And I understand there are 2 or 3 callers on the line. Please stay and wait for us patiently. It's time for a short break. When we come back, I promise, inshallah, if you're still on the line, we'll be addressing the calls first before we move on to our text messages from our WhatsApp. And not to forget, those who have just tuned in, you're watching Ask Eman, broadcasted live from the studio of Eman Channel, watched on Sky 757. Also, you are watching this program live on our social media platform, that is on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. Inshallah, do stay tuned with us. We'll be right back in a few moments. You're watching Ask Eman on Eman Channel. Thank you very much. Welcome back to Ask Eman, watching live on Eman Channel and broadcasted from the studio of Eman Channel on Sky 757. Also, we are live on our social media platform, which is Facebook page, as well as on our YouTube channel. So please don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. In fact, we also have our Instagram page and Twitter channel. So please do follow or like those pages as well. And before we move on to the break, our first segment, we had a caller all the way from Austria asking 2 very important questions, and our Shaykh has answered. And in fact, our today's guest is our respected scholar, a very well-known face on Eman Channel, Shaykh Saeed Al-Qadi. Now, before we move on to our next caller, just to give you a brief detail, if you would like to pose any question by directly calling into the studio, then it's 0203 515 0757. Alternatively, if you would like to drop us a text on WhatsApp, then it's 0742239883. Alternatively, you can also email us at askeman@emanchannel.tv, and feel free to leave us your comments, or if you've got any messages on our social media platforms. And inshallah, if time is available, then we'll try and accommodate all of those questions. Now, before we move on to our discussion, let's see who's next on the line, as promised in the first segment. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you very much for calling in. What's your question?
Well, the question is, on Friday was the 9th of Muharram, and we fasted on the 9th. But a lot of channels are saying is the 8th was on a Friday. And it's just a bit of confusion because you are probably amongst one of the, or 2 of the channels that are saying it was the 9th. So I'm a bit confused on why everybody else is saying it's the 8th of Muharram.
I see. So there's a difference in the Hijri calendar some people are following. Okay, understood your question.
Oh, no. Actually, the Hijri calendar on their website are saying it is the 9th today, but the display on their actual website are saying it's the 8th.
Okay, so but there's some clarification I'll require there. So are you talking about it's a mistake, or how do you know that there's a discrepancy there?
The reason why, because it's the 9th today, but they are saying it wasn't the 9th today, Friday.
Okay.
It was the 8th today, and the 9th is tomorrow.
Okay. It's clear. So you're saying other channels, it's saying 8th when it's, according to you, your understanding, it should be 9th. And you're saying those channels...
According to your channel as well, yeah.
Yeah, according to the website, even it says 9th. However, the channel itself is saying 8th. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And it's really confusing because everybody is now thinking, I mean, we as a family are doing it we've done it today, on Friday.
Fine.
But the other members of the family are now doing the 9th tomorrow, thinking it's tomorrow.
Okay, fine. It's clear to me. We'll see how the Shaykh addresses. And inshallah, after the Shaykh addresses, I'll also cover the other aspect that you've mentioned about the other TV channels. Let's see, Shaykh, what he addresses. Shaykh, is the question clear to you?
طيب shall I answer إن شاء الله?
Yes, please, go ahead.
well, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى على محمد وعلى صحبه أجمعين. First of all, as a person who is following the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you want to find out which day exactly is the 9th of Muharram and when is the Tasu'ah and when is the 10th of Muharram, it's a very good practice that we are trying to state the day exactly and follow the Sunnah exactly. So may Allah bless you inshallah ta'ala and accept from you. It's a very good practice that you are trying to find out. But what is the ruling regarding any person who is trying to find the day? Which day is the day of Ashura? Which day the day of the 9th of Muharram? How can we state these days? The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he gave us the answer and he gave us the right practice whenever there is a confusion and whenever there is like a differences between people or difference of opinion between people. And the answer was when he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said الصوم حين يصوم الناس والفطر حين يفطر الناس, meaning the day of the Ashura will be the day on which the majority of people agrees upon. So in your land, your own city, the city of London or the country of UK, what is the majority of people are following? Okay, if they are following that the 9th of the Hijjah is Friday and the 10th of the Hijjah is Saturday, you just go with them. You go with them. You follow them because you should follow the majority, as the Nabi Sallallahu stated when he said, "As-sawmu hina yasumu an-nas." Fasting is when people are fasting, meaning when the majority of people are fasting. Okay, so for example, if you are for example, you are from you live in the UK and you travel to for example in Saudi, and in Saudi they fasting the 9th of the Hijjah, they fasting on Saturday, you go with them because you are there with them. Okay, you are in Saudi, you're not in the UK, so you fast as long as the majority of the people in the country that you live in or the village that you live in, they are fasting. Okay, this is how it works. You have another option as well, is that you follow your local mosque. You follow your own local mosque, okay, and you go with them if if there's a difficulty in establishing that the majority of people are fasting. If you say to me, well, even that I cannot establish it because I find it difficult. People are differing everywhere. Some are fasting on, some are saying the 9th is on the on Friday, and some are saying the 9th is on Saturday. If there is a big difference amongst the community, the Muslim community in the UK, then follow your own local mosque.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh, for clarifying the difference in the calendar. And also I'd like to add, when you have mentioned, my dear viewer, that the particular channels that you have watched, the website clearly states that the 9th of Muharram is on Friday. However, the channel itself displays a different date. It could be possible that there's a technical error there. So I thank you, first of all, for not naming any channel. That's a good thing. And secondly, if you do notice such thing, then please do email, because the email address is very easy. You can call up directly to the TV channels, the websites. You've got the details of all the necessary contact details. You can contact them and let them know that there is perhaps a confusion, that the website says one date and the TV channel says another date. So perhaps if it's brought to the attention of the management of those TV channels in question, then inshallah possibly they'll look into it with their technical team to make sure that it's up to date according to what it says on the website or other platforms. Is the answer okay to you, or is there any other questions you would like to ask, brother, if you're still on the line?
Just a slight clarity. The actual channels have also said by speech that it's the 8th.
Okay, so yeah, that means they're referring to a different calendar.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, fine. That's what Shaykh has addressed.
Okay.
That some people, if there is Shaykh has addressed, as you've heard, that you should go by the majority. If it's not possible, then follow the local area that you are in. But I'll still go back to the Shaykh if you stay on the line to see what's his final word will be.
Inshallah.
Shaykh, what about if there's a difference, like we see in the month of Ramadan, there is difference. Some people start fast one day ahead. Some people start fasting, or a particular community starts fasting at the following day. So clearly there's a difference in terms of the rulings here. So could it mean that also, when it comes to the fasting of Muharram, a particular section of the community would be going with the majority, and a particular of them would be going with the closest country that the UK is aligned to, as we know that there are a difference of opinion when it comes to the moon sighting. Is that correct, Sheikh?
Generally, when it comes to establishing the days, okay, to stay the day, this is the day of Muharram, this is the beginning of Ramadan, this is the beginning of Shawwal, this is the beginning of the Hijjah. We should establish it by looking at the moon. This is what Rasulullah said to us. His advice that every city and every balad, every nation should look at the moon and establish if this is the beginning of Ramadan or the end of Ramadan or the beginning of the Eid or the end of the Eid, the end of the year. Okay, so this is the first way through which we should establish. Okay, now. Should we be linked with another city that is next to us, or a city that is far away from us? For example, should we be linked with Saudi? Should we be linked with Pakistan? Should we be linked with any country? No, we shouldn't be linked with them. Why? Because the birth of the moon could differ. It could differ from a country to a country because we are in different what you call it, a line. All right. So the birth of the moon could be in different could be different in terms of the country, in terms of the city itself. So therefore, it is difficult to link ourselves with any other country. All right. The right procedure is to look at the moon. If we are unable to establish that, or for any other reason, we have to complete the month. Complete the month. This is the advice of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now, every country and every city, they have their own jama'ah, meaning they should establish themselves whether we have seen the moon or we haven't seen the moon. Should we fast this day or not? And therefore, as a believer, you should follow the majority in the city, the majority in the country. Okay? As in the UK, most of the mosques, they have some sort of arrangements between them to announce the day of Eid, to announce the day of the beginning of Ramadan, to announce these important days. So they come together and they agree on a day based on their own ijtihad. As a believer, you should follow the majority of the people, majority of the Muslims that are in your country. This is how it works. This is what you are advised to do by the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As in the hadith, الصوم حين يصوم الناس والفطر حين يفطر الناس. Okay, those who fasted Ramadan, for example, they started Ramadan on the day of Jum'ah, and they are in the UK. Some people, they said, okay, Ramadan started on the day of Saturday, and they live in America. Who of them is right? Both are right. Both are right, because the birth of the moon could be after the timing, it was after the moon passing the area of the UK. So this is fine. It's normal. It could happen because we are in different line, in different horizontal line. So اختلاف المطالع in the Arabic, we call it اختلاف المطالع. In the Arabic language, it has its own regard, and the ulama, they acknowledge it.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, for clarifying that. And as Sheikh has mentioned, just to clarify there, obviously there are two opinions, local sighting and international sighting, whichever opinion you follow. There is that difference of opinion. Inshallah, consult your local scholar, local area that you live in, and take the necessary advice from there. And as Sheikh has mentioned, that obviously try and follow the majority. Now, moving on swiftly to our next caller. Let's see who's on the line. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much for calling in. What's your question?
My name's Shaykh and I'm calling from Peterborough. Just to clarify on the point about your last caller, it's all about time zone, which country you're living in. The Shaykh, the most respected Shaykh, is absolutely right, because other countries, other channels are broadcasting from other countries. So it's all about time zone. My question is, now when I'm reading Salat, or a lot of people are reading Salat, the mind, you have a conscience and then you have a subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
The mind tends to sometimes wander and you get other thoughts, while you're reading Salat. So how should one refrain from these thoughts?
Okay, clear. Any other question?
Not at the moment, sir. No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification, and a very, very important question that perhaps applies to, in fact, all of us. Now, let's see what the Shaykh has to say. Shaykh, our mind wanders in our salah, even though, as the viewer has mentioned, conscious mind, subconscious mind is there. Unintentionally, a lot of other thoughts come into play, even though we're reading Surah Fatiha, other surah, but it's just that thought process comes in. How can we refrain from that, making sure that our khushu' is there in the salah?
Jazakallah khair. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Well, first of all, the first step that a person is blaming himself and is trying to find a solution is the first step. Is the first step in finding a solution. Okay? So I salute you for this. MashaAllah ta'ala. May Allah bless you, brother, that you are acknowledging this problem and you're trying to resolve it. It can't be resolved in one go. It will take time. So it requires from you you need to insist on it. You need to persist on it. You need to try your best to fight yourself to be focused on the prayer. And remember as well that Allah Ta'ala will only accept from your prayer the amount or the time that you were focused on the salah itself. And the shaitan will do his best, will do his utmost to ensure that you are not focused on the prayer, that you are not heedful in the prayer, that you are not paying attention in the prayer. Your mind is somewhere else. And that's why, subhanAllah, many of us, when you start praying, things that we forgot in our daily life, things that we are missing and we forgot them, in the salah, remember them. Why? Shaitan is bringing things to you. SubhanAllah ta'ala, it's to distract you from salah. For example, if you forgot that you have invited somebody to come to your house and that you should prepare food for him or for her, if you forgot that, when you say Allahu Akbar and start praying, you will remember this, subhanAllah ta'ala. Oh, I have a guest, I forgot about him. Then you say, no, I'm going to be focused on salah, I'm going to pray now. Shaitan comes to you, what about the food? What are you going to do with the food? You have food to prepare. So, subhanAllah, Shaitan will come to you just to distract you from salah. What you should do, okay, this 10 minutes that I've made for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I need to understand that when I say Allahu Akbar, the meaning of Allahu Akbar, it means Allah ta'ala is the greatest. Nothing is greater than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing that is greater than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we say Allahu Akbar, Allah ta'ala is more important than anything. It's more important than my other commitments, my work, my guests, my anything. Okay? Therefore, in this 10 minutes that I'm praying for Allah ta'ala, I will focus on salah. Okay? Just let's understand what we are saying. Let's reflect on what we're saying. It will have an impact on us. Allahu Akbar means Allah Ta'ala is greater. Than what? Than everything. Okay? Than any other commitment, than any other business. So when you say that, you have to feel it. You have to acknowledge it. You have to understand it. And then that will help you as well to have khushu' in salah. Besides understanding the chapter that you're praying, that you are reading. For example, you read Allahu Ahad, you need to understand it. So when you recite it, you reflect upon it. Okay? That will help you as well in khushu'. May Allah bless you and reward you. One of the ulama said that I fought myself to have khushu' in salah for almost 20 years. And then I enjoyed the salah for another 20 years. Okay, because once you pray with khushu', the salah will have a different taste.
Jazakallah khair.
A taste of connection with Allah.
Sorry, Shaykh, I did interrupt you there. If you can continue.
You'll have that communication with Allah Ta'ala, with your Creator. You'll have the communication that you need with your Lord. That will give you tranquility. That will give you some sort of happiness in your life and will feed your soul.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh, for that. And some beautiful tips given there. And most importantly, what I take from there is to deal with any problem is to acknowledge it first. So that's when we can work towards the direction. Apart from what Shaykh has mentioned about understanding, also another practical stuff that I've seen from experience as well. Sometimes we memorize certain things and we don't even have to think while we have to recite. So it's so much submerged into us. So what we can do is, instead of reading fast, what we can do, if we can slow down our recitation and stop it after every verse, perhaps our mind will be more engaged in the salah. And in this way, with all the other examples the Shaykh has given, hopefully one day we shall be able to overcome such issues. Inshallah, if you've got any more questions, then please feel free to call in directly to the studio. And thank you very much for asking such an important question. Let's move on. Let's see who's next on the line. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, akhi.
Thank you very much for calling in. Wa alaikum assalam. What's your question?
Sheikh's very knowledgeable about procedures, and the question I wanted the Sheikh to answer, you know, if a wife applies for divorce from her husband and whoever is processing that application, Islamically, what's the procedure? Have they got to notify and consult with the husband, or they can just do it just by on the wife's evidence? Just need to get some clarification, because there are some institutions which are doing it without really consulting and notifying the husband, and the wives are getting their divorces and getting certified. So I'd just like to get clarification. Is that the Islamic way of proceeding?
Okay, stay on the line. A quick question. So you're basically trying to find out wife asking for a khula without seeking the permission from the husband. Is that correct?
No, the person who's actually doing the khula, processing the application, say it's in
the person who's actually doing it without the
they're doing it without contacting the husband, notifying, consulting.
Okay, fine. Stay on the line. If you may have additional question once the Shaykh has answered.
No.
But also before the Shaykh answers the question, I just need to give a disclaimer there. This is a Q&A program, and especially when it comes to the matter of marriage and divorce, it will be just generic. Nobody should be taking this as a conclusive advice. For any conclusive advice, any individual watching the program must consult a local qualified scholar and get their a special opinion based on the circumstances that they're in. However, Sheikh will, if possible, will give a generic overview of this question. Now, Sheikh, the brothers is asking a question, very important, that the organizations or perhaps the person who is doing the khula, he's not seeking the permission of the husband and giving that to a wife without necessarily seeking the husband permission. Now, we've understood that, we've heard from one side of the story. However, if you can tailor it down, what is the correct procedure if someone wants to go ahead with into that direction?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin wa salli ala Muhammad wa ala alihi ajma'in. First of all, the contract of marriage is one of the most sacred contract in Islam. Okay, if you look at the Quran and reflect on the Quran, you'll find Allah Ta'ala describing the contract of marriage as a sacred contract, as a sacred contract. And you won't find any other contract in the Quran that is described to be sacred but the contract of the marriage and the contract of prophethood. Look at the verse in which Allah Ta'ala said, وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ مِيثَاقَهُمْ وَمِنْكَ وَمِنْ نُوحٍ وَإِبْرَاهِيمَ وَمُوسَى وَعِيسَى وَأَخَذْنَا مِنْهُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. And we took from all the prophets, including yourself, Musa, Isa, Ibrahim, and Nuh, we took from them a heavy and sacred contract. Allah Ta'ala called it مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا, a sacred contract. You won't find this term in the Quran, but in the contract of marriage. Look at the Quran as well. Allah Ta'ala said, وَكَيْفَ تَأْخُذُونَهُ وَقَدْ أَفْضَى بَعْضُكُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ وَأَخَذْنَا مِنْكُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. How would you take the dowry back after you've engaged in the marriage and they have taken from you a sacred contract? Allah Ta'ala called it a sacred contract. Allah Ta'ala called it مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. So it is a very heavy, sacred contract in the sight of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. My question is, this sacred contract has to be respected. This sacred contract has to be acknowledged and understood. And then how can we change any terms of this contract without going through the right procedures? Okay, this is my question to anyone who will indulge himself in this kind of contracts. The matter of khulu is one of the most complicated procedure in the marriage, and the khulu itself requires a lot of sessions with the husband, with the wife. It requires a lot of procedures. So nobody can say, I can do the khulu', I can do the divorce without going back to the husband. I'll do that for you. This is playing. It's a game. Okay, they are not respecting the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is respecting of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, therefore, the right procedure when it comes to the khulu', the husband must be contacted.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh, for that. Unfortunately, our time is up and we cannot continue any further, but you've given your valuable thought, and I once again thank you very much for coming onto the program. And before we end the program, just a bit of advice there. Yes, we live in a society and a country and an environment. These days we see there are challenges, and there were challenges in the past. However, marriage should be taken very seriously. And if there is any issue, consult a qualified person. That's all from us. Until next time, subhanakallah wa hamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum.